In this video, I'm going to show you the easiest way to massively improve your Google Ad results. It's quick to set up, very, very effective, and almost no one does it. Let me show you what I'm talking about. So what I'm talking about here is using Google's advanced bidding strategies. Well, actually one advanced bidding strategy option in particular. Now that might sound complicated and daunting. It is not. I'm going to demonstrate exactly how it works. It is quick and easy to use. So I'm just going to jump into an example Google Ad account. I've just started going through the campaign creation process. I've selected a performance max campaign, although what I'm about to talk about applies to other campaign types as well. And one of the first things you need to decide once you've added in your campaign objective, chosen a campaign type, is your bidding strategy. Really, really important. It's going to dictate how Google runs and optimizes your campaign. Now I've got this default stuff up here, conversions value. You may see different options depending on those previous selections that I just mentioned. What I want to focus in on this video is this section down here. We've got customer acquisition. Now, if you leave this blank, which most Google advertisers do, most Google advertisers aren't even aware that there are options here, then you get this, bid equally for new and existing customers. But if we go ahead and select this and we tick this, adjust your bidding to help acquire new customers, we get a bunch of different options. Now, a lot of Google advertisers have had the experience where they feel that Google is spending too much of their budget on warm audiences, on existing customers, on remarketing, because Google knows that that's a great way to get you relatively inexpensive leads, relatively inexpensive sales by putting ads in front of people that have already interacted. That works maybe in the short term to get a good return on ad spend, but over the long run, you need new customers, right? Otherwise, you can't grow your business, you're not growing a customer base, and there's only so much you can sort of squeeze that existing audience to increase revenues. So what Google added was this customer acquisition feature where you can say, look, Google, I know it's going to cost me more to get, say, a purchase from a cold audience person as opposed to an existing customer, but I'm willing to do that because I'm thinking about the long-term viability of my business. So I can come in here, I can select this option, bid higher for new customers, and I can say, look, Google, you have estimated it's going to cost me £41 to generate a purchase. I'm willing to spend an extra 20, so it costs me £61 to generate a purchase from a new customer, and I'm willing to make that trade. I've talked about this in previous videos, and this is good to use if you're running into an issue, more likely to happen with the automated campaign types, things like Performance Max, Demand Gen, where Google has much more flexibility over who they put your ads in front of, and that's all good. But that's not specifically what I'm talking about in this video. What I want to talk about in this video is this option here, which is new customers, high value. So if I go ahead and turn this on, what this means is you're saying to Google, yes, I'm willing to pay more to acquire new customers. I'm willing to pay even more to acquire new customers that have higher value. Because lots of businesses have the scenario where some customers are worth $200 to your business, other customers are worth $2,000 to your business. Well, you're absolutely willing to pay more to acquire the $2,000 person customer than the $200 person customer because they're worth 10x to your business. You might be willing to pay twice as much, 3 times as much, 5 times as much, maybe 10 times as much. And Google's not always going to be able to see that. Yes, if we're just talking strictly average order values, that's going to be covered by a conversion value optimization. Some people check out with they spend $50, other people check out, they spend $500. That's going to be factored into that initial transaction. But there's a lot more that goes into customer value than just that initial transaction. It could be that a certain cohort of your customers buy 12 times over a 5-year period, whereas others just buy once. They're a lot more valuable. Google might not have the visibility over those subsequent purchases, but you can train it by saying, these are the people that come back and buy again and again. I want more of these. I'm willing to pay more for it. Some people are going to stay on a subscription service or product a lot longer than others. If you're optimizing, if you've got a lead-based campaign, it might be that certain customers, when they come through based on their geography, where they are, or based on their age or their income or some other factor, are much more valuable once you speak to them on the phone and you convert them. Yes, those 2 leads may convert. Google may have visibility over that, but you can say this one actually ended up being worth a lot more, a much higher value customer. So to know what to enter in here, you'd very much need to understand your numbers, right? You need to understand, okay, which segment of our customers are we talking about here and how much more are they worth? If they're worth 10 times more, maybe instead of paying £40 to acquire the existing customer, we're willing to pay $400. Or maybe that's not too much. We want those high value customers, but maybe they're not quite as good margin. We're willing to pay $200 more. This is where you really need to know your numbers. It might be that you're willing to pay, 70 more. So that's the sort of thing that you need to understand very clearly. This is what our customers are worth on average. If we segment it out into these different portions, how much is this type of customer worth? How much is this type of customer worth? And that can then inform how much you're willing to bid in terms of extra to acquire not just new customers, but high value new customers. Now, in order for this new customers high value bidding strategy to actually work, we need Google to understand who our existing customers are and who our high value existing customers are. And we can see that once we've set this up, we've got this warning pop up to say to use this, you need to define existing customer lists, which I'll show you how to do in a second. First, I want to very quickly let you know about my Google Ads mentorship program, which is designed to give you all the support you need to get the best possible results from your Google Ad campaigns, including exclusive educational material, unlimited one-to-one support. You can literally send us as many questions, messages you've got, and we'll get back to you with an answer, whether that's reviewing something, an issue comes up, how to improve, any of it, and we can help you out. Daily live calls and Q&As with me and my team members. If that sounds like something that's interesting, there is a link in the video description below. You can click on that, come through to a page on our website and book in a free, no obligation call with us. So hopefully you do so, hopefully that sounds interesting, and we get a chance to work together directly very soon. Okay, so before I show you how to set up these two lists within your Google Ad account, we first need to actually create these lists, right? So you're going to need to have two separate lists, one for all your customers and another one for your high value customers, so that you can then upload those to Google and Google can see, aha, we've analyzed the people on these lists and we've worked out that these high value customers have some commonalities, right? They tend to be a certain age range, in a certain location, interested in A, B, and C. We will advertise to more people like them. That's how this works. That's the data that Google needs to be able to work this stuff out, right? So you first need to decide how you're going to define who is and isn't high value. And this, again, is going to depend on your business. There's no sort of one size fits all recommendation here. Sometimes high value customers are going to be worth 10x the average. Other times they're going to be worth 3x the average. And this, again, is going to depend on your business. What variance is there in customer values? Some businesses, their customers are worth pretty similar amounts. There's not that much variance, in which case you might decide that anyone that spends twice as much as the average is a high value customer. With others, much more variance. And like I said, it could be 10x, could be more. And you really want to train the system to go after those best ones. You also want to factor in list size, right? So for Google to be able to do this properly, you want 1,000 plus people in each list. So don't make your high value customers such a small percentage of your existing customers that you can't get over that 1,000 number mark. Otherwise, Google won't be able to analyze the audience properly. They won't have enough data and it won't be able to work. So that again might mean that you need to decide, right, it's 5x the average customer value is what qualifies as high value. Kind of bit of word salad there, but hopefully that's helpful and that makes sense. Now, how you actually do this depends on what platform you're using, what CRM you're using. So some make it really easy to just define over or under a certain value amount and then export that list as high value, export everyone else as your existing customer list, and then you've got two CSV files, and I'll show you what to do with those within your Google Ad account in a second. Others, it's going to be a little bit more effort, a bit more manual work. You're just going to have to export all your customers into a CSV file and then sort of manually sort once you've got it there to be able to define ones that are high value and low value. In order to do this, you are going to need to have a value assigned to every customer, whether you're doing that from within your CRM, sorting and then exporting, or you're exporting and then sorting manually from a CSV file. Because if you don't have a value associated with each customer, how are you going to work out or be able to tell the platform, these ones are high value, these ones are low value? Your CRM very much should have that information. I appreciate with businesses that optimize for lead-based conversion actions that requires your team and salespeople and everyone to update those values if it's not tracked automatically, which doesn't always happen. So, your value column might be in place, but it might not be assigned to every single customer. We can only work with what we've got. But ideally, if that is the case going forward, you'd be like, right, in our CRM, every customer I'm going to make sure has a value so that we have access to that data. We can take a look at it and try and work out who should we be going after more of and who should we be going after less of based on the value of each customer to your business, but then also being able to upload it to places like your Google Ad account so that Google knows and can optimize your campaigns accordingly. So I'll show you how to get those lists uploaded and then defined, which is really important for this to work in a second. First, I want to very quickly let you know about Hyros. Hyros is fantastic tracking and attribution software and can really help you improve your Google Ad results. It's a software that all the big players in the industry use, including myself. I use it to track results for my own ads across multiple platforms, including Google Ads, and all my organic results as well, which is super helpful. So if someone, for example, comes through and books a call for our done-for-you services, I can see exactly where that person came from. This is particularly important if you're running ads across multiple channels or generating customers organically as well. Without accurate data, you are flying blind, and knowledge is power. So let me show you how important this is. So I'm here in my Hyros dashboard. I'm going to take a look at the data and the results that Hyros has been able to track and compare those to what I'm seeing within my Google Ad account for the same campaign. So this is a Google Ad campaign that we've been running. We're only looking at data for a few days here, but it really demonstrates what's going on. So you can see Hyros has registered 6 leads generated, a cost per lead of just over £15. 75 clicks. It's just a branded search campaign, hence why the CTR is 30%. So not a huge amount going on, but representative, right? So that's the data we can see within HighRose. If I jump over to my Google Ad account, we look at the exact same campaign, same time frame. We've got May 21st to 27th. You can see a lot of the data matches up, right? We've got 75 clicks, 30% CTR just like before. But if we scroll over, you can see that Google has only registered 3 conversions as opposed to the 6. So it's registered half the number of conversions. And I can tell you, looking at the back-end data, that the 6 from HighRose is the accurate number. And that's why this is so important, because we might look at the Google Ads data and come to the wrong conclusion, think this isn't profitable, turn stuff off when we shouldn't, but we can verify it with the HighRose data and make much better, more informed decisions and end up with better overall ad results because of it. So if you want to improve the performance of your Google Ad campaigns and be able to see exactly where your leads and sales are coming from, go ahead and sign up to HighRose. There is a link in the video description. So let's jump back into our example Google Ad account. Let's go ahead and define these existing customer lists, right? So I think in the example we gave, when I was talking about previously, we were saying that a conversion from a new customer is worth £20 more than a conversion from an existing customer. So we can go ahead and add £20 in here. And then we need to define to Google, these are who our existing customers are. This is the top section. And then we've got this new customers high value option, where I think we agreed it was £70, wasn't it? That's saying a new customer that's of higher value, the conversion value from them is £70 more than the average. So increase our bid accordingly. Obviously, these numbers might differ. You might be willing to pay a lot more for new customers high value than that, but that's just what we're going for now. And then we need to define our high value customers. So we come back up to this part. Once we click in here, if you already have your customer list, your high value customer list uploaded, they'll probably be in here as examples. You can just go ahead and select them. So we can go ahead and select example customer list there. And then for high value, we could go ahead and select example high value customer list, and then job done, right? Eligible, all good, worked it out. Then I'll be optimized. We can click save and that'll work properly. If, however, you don't have those customer lists set up, here's how you do it. So I'm just going to come out of the campaign creation window, just going to save that for a second. And then from here, I want to go to tools, and then under shared library, click on audience manager, where you set up the audiences, upload your lists and define them and do all the things. I've got a bunch of stuff in here because, this is an experimental example ad account that I use to demonstrate things. But what you want to do is go ahead and click on this plus button, and then we want to select customer list from the drop down. And then we've got our data source. So I talked about if your CRM integrates directly, let's say you use Shopify, for example, very quick and easy to just go through the process, click on Shopify, give it the various permissions, say, these are my customers, import that data, or these are my high value customers, import that data. I'm not going to demonstrate that because as you can see, there's tons of different options. It's going to depend on what you're using, which one's valuable for you. What I am going to quickly show is upload a file manually, because even if you use one of these, you can still follow along with the upload a file manually option. And if you don't use one of these, then that's the way you want to go anyway. So we go ahead and click on upload a file manually, and then go ahead and click continue. We can give the segment a name. So we can call this, for example, high value customers. And then we can select customer type. Now this is really, really important because this is what's going to tell Google who's who. Right? So if you're uploading all your customer lists, which you want to do, you need the 2 different lists, select all customers. If you're doing high value customers, as we've got here, select high value customers. And that's, like I said, going to impact, you can literally see here, this segment will be added to your account level new customer acquisition high value goal, which is exactly what I've been demonstrating and talking about in this video. All right, then we've got upload emails, phones, and our mailing address is probably the option you're going to go with as opposed to the other options. And then you can just drag and drop or browse your list, your CSV file that you've exported from your CRM that we talked about previously in here. So I've just prepped an example email list. I'll go ahead and get that added in. Then you can dig into the view instructions, you edit data settings. You probably just want to go with the default. That's probably fine. You do need to say that you've collected this data properly and in compliance, etc., etc. Membership duration, I go with the longest, which is 540 days, because we want people on this list to be on there for as long as possible. And then we can add in a segment description should you want to. I've got the description up in the name at the top, so I'm fine, but you can do that should you choose to. Then I can go ahead and click save and continue, and you'll probably see a little window pop up like this where Google's basically just trying to match the data that we have within our list with what that actually corresponds to. So it's not a real list, it's just got name Ben, email ben@example.com for demonstration purposes. But you can see Google's accurately worked out that this column is email, and they've selected that as email, and they haven't worked this one out. Unrecognized column header, we can either remove, or we could go ahead and say, look, that's a first name. Normally what I recommend is that you try and match as much information as possible, because that's going to make it easier for Google to match people on your list with actual users of Google services so that they can actually work out, okay, this person corresponds to this person, they're high value, here's the data we have on them, that's going to inform our campaign and how it works and all that sort of stuff, right? So you go ahead and go through that process. I'm just going to go ahead and click fix and upload. Okay, so that's now uploaded. Google's going to give you a little summary of what it's been able to do with your list. We've got a bunch of things saying that, we can't serve, estimated match rate not available because it was a dummy list and it's not real data, it's just for demonstration purposes. Hopefully you won't see that, and hopefully you do have over the 1,000 matched customers that you need to be able to serve this, both in your high value and then obviously in your overall customer list. And then we can go ahead and click done. So I just did that with a high value customer list. You absolutely want to go and do that with a all customer list as well. So you can come back into that part that I showed you where you've got that bidding strategy and you can define this is our existing customers and these are our high value customers. This is how much more we're willing to bid for each. And then that can inform how Google puts your ads in front of people. And like I said at the beginning of this video, this can make a massive difference because if certain people are worth a lot more to your business, paying more to acquire those can massively improve your return on ad spend. And often with Google Ads, there is a dynamic where it doesn't cost proportionally as much to acquire more valuable customers. So a customer might be worth 10 times more than another customer. It probably doesn't cost 10 times as much in ad spend to get that higher value customer. It might cost you 2 or 3 times as much. So that's a great trade. Your return on ad spend is much better, and higher value customers are just easier from running a business anyway, right? There's less people to deal with, there's often less hassle, there's less moving parts. Like, it's a more profitable experience typically to work with higher value customers in just about every business that I've been involved in. I mean, that's thousands at this point, right? So try this bidding strategy out and let me know how it performs. And one last thing before you go, and that's a recommendation to watch this video next. Because in that video, I demonstrate my Google Ads campaign structure, what I would recommend. I get questions about campaign structure all the time. It's really important. Using tips like we've been through in this video are absolutely going to help your performance. But if you don't have the right structure in place in the first place, you're really going to struggle to get the best possible Google Ad results. So go ahead and give this a watch next.